Good morning and welcome to the Artemis I tanking show here on NASA TV and our media channel. My name is Daryl Nail with NASA Communications. I'll be your commentator today through what we hope to be is the completion of cryo-tanking of the world's most powerful rocket. You see it there on the pad. Teams came in a couple days ago on Saturday and began working the countdown at T-minus 46 hours. We are currently sitting at a hold of T-minus 6 hours and 40 minutes. That is a planned 2.5-hour hold. I want to start you off with the news of the morning, I should say, as we just turned into midnight, or rather midnight. The mission management team just met and gave a go to proceed with tanking for the Artemis I mission. Good news, the launch team has been doing their pre-cryoloading operations. They are substantially complete, looking on target to get started here. The launch director, Artemis I launch director, Charlie Blackwell Thompson, is expected to give her go to tanking any moment now, but we're working a few things. One minor constraint that involves some material out on the tail service mast umbilical. That should be moved along pretty well. They're looking to get that cleared. They also talked about the weather for tanking today, and that's looking fairly good. Starting at midnight, going to 1 a.m., and through the hours that follow, it starts off with a 40% chance of rain. We have some storms offshore that are scattered throughout the Atlantic, but could head our direction. So we have a 40% chance for rain during that first hour from midnight to 1 a.m. We have a 30% chance from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., and then 20% down at the 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. time period. And throughout the time period, the launch weather officer giving us a 20% chance of lightning. So we are within the limits to get started to tank. That's good news. There was an issue that was discussed in the mission management briefing that is a constraint to T-minus 10. Which is at roughly 8:23 a.m. this morning Eastern time, so we're a little more than 8 hours away from that. The constraint involves communication with the Orion capsule. Currently, they have good communication on both channels, the launch team does, but in getting it set up previously, there was a delay in getting communication to the capsule from the ground. They got about an 11-minute delay, and they're working to find out why that happened. And so until they get that figured out, there is a constraint on T-minus 10, which is also called terminal count. So quite plainly, we wouldn't start terminal count until that's resolved, but they have time to work it, and they are doing that right now. Engineers feel good about getting this figured out. It is an important comm channel. This is command and control for Orion that comes from the ground side. But it is not a constraint to tanking. So preparations for tanking are continuing. We'll be here with you throughout the night. It's going to be a long overnight, but it's going to be a fun one. Hopefully we'll get this rocket tanked and head on to the countdown for a launch at 8:33 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, August 29th. We have a 2-hour launch window, and we'll keep you updated on all the progress. This is Artemis Launch Control. At T-minus 6 hours and 40 minutes and holding. This is Artemis Launch Control. I want to update you on a situation with the weather that was just discussed between the launch director and the launch weather officer. Apparently we have some storms offshore, generally to the south of the launch complex, that are tracking in our general direction. Some of the cells have lightning in them, and that is just outside of our weather criteria for tanking. Now, the launch director, Charlie Blackwell Thompson, has made the decision to go ahead and start moving forward with tanking, but she let her NASA test director know that she wants to hold off on cryo flow. So these would be the preparations to start beginning tanking, talking about chill down activities. They are now starting to perform those as we also monitor the weather. Launch director has asked for an update in about 8 minutes from now from the launch weather officer, who says that this storm in particular that's coming our way has not shown any sign of weakening yet. He wants to watch it for the next 30 minutes or so, see how it evolves. And again, the launch director will get an update in about 8 minutes or so on that storm. So, to summarize again, we are moving forward with the preparing to load cryogenic propellants into the 2 large propellant tanks. But the launch director has put a hold on actually flowing that propellant due to a potential violation of a weather constraint for tanking. We'll stand by and let you know more when we know it. This is Artemis Launch Control. Another update for you about the weather as we head towards cryoloading for the Space Launch System and Orion spacecraft. The launch weather officer just briefed the launch director and didn't have any new updates other than to say there hasn't been any new lightning production from those storm cells, which are just to our southwest. There's some rain bands coming on shore about 15 miles away, and the launch weather officer wants to keep an eye on those. LWO reporting that we're not quite there at the 20% chance of lightning yet, and so given that, he wants to monitor it another 15 minutes or so he can get to that less than 20% chance of lightning, which is a constraint to begin cryoloading. Meanwhile, launch director Charlie Blackwell Thompson has instructed her team, and they have been working on preparing for cryoload, working through their pre-chill procedures. And at this moment, the core stage and the upper stage, the ICPS, are ready for cryoload. So the launch director asked for another update in 7 minutes. And we will bring that to you once we have it. So again, at the moment, we are holding off on cryoloading. The launch director wanting to hold off until we have cleared the constraint for weather. There's weather approaching from the south. Stand by for more updates. This is Artemis Launch Control. This is Artemis Launch Control. Just got an update from the launch weather officer to the launch director. Currently, we are sitting in a hold for cryo loading. The team has gotten the tanks ready, pre-chilled, and checked off all of the preparations in order to get these tanks loaded with cryo loading. But because this is a very sensitive operation to potential lightning, we are currently in a weather hold at the moment. The launch weather officer telling the launch director that the upstream cells in some storms that are offshore moving in our general direction have developed some more to the point where we're getting some lightning out of them. It's still a fair distance from us right now. If you have weather, you can see this on a weather app. You can see the lines of storms. One in particular has been growing that the LWO was talking about, moving approximately 15 miles per hour in our direction. It could be here within the first critical hour of tanking. And so the launch weather officer says that currently we are violating the constraint, the weather constraint that lightning prohibits tanking. So no tanking can begin with a better than 20% chance of lightning, and right now launch weather officer says that has been exceeded based on the forecast that he sees right now. If there's a chance that if we see some weakening, the launch weather officer with the 45th Weather Squadron says that he will be monitoring that. Launch director has asked for a tag up in 10 minutes, and so we'll get another update and then get it right out to you. But again, for the moment, we are holding for cryo loading. This is the big operation where we load the world's largest propellant tanks with super chilled liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen, more than 733 gallons of propellant. It is quite an operation. It is an elaborate and complex operation that cannot have any lightning in or around the pad as they begin, especially in that first hour of tanking. And so we'll keep you informed with updates, but for now, this is Artemis Launch Control. While we're waiting, want to go over the weather criteria with you for tanking. So when it comes to lightning, the tanking lightning constraint is there must be a less than 20% chance of lightning within 5 nautical miles of the launch pad during the first hour of tanking for the core stage and the first hour of tanking for the ICPS, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. And currently, we are violating that constraint with a greater than 20% chance of lightning within that first hour. There's also a tanking wind constraint, but we're well below that. The wind constraint is must be lower than a sustained wind of 37 knots with a peak wind of 52 knots, well below that constraint. And there's also a temperature constraint, but being that it's summertime, we are not going to have a problem with this one. It's just to let you know for information, it's 41.4 degrees Fahrenheit. And currently, we're in the range of 80. Not going to be a problem there, but we do have these storms offshore tracking in our direction. Going to have another update from the launch weather officer in just a moment. The launch director has asked for regular updates, and once she is briefed, we will let you know. Artemis Launch Control. This is Artemis Launch Control with another update on the weather situation, which currently has us in a hold for loading cryogenic propellants into the Space Launch System rocket this morning. The launch weather officer says he sees some encouraging signs that the system that's drifting towards us and could be within a 5 nautical mile ring around the pad is going to be here within the hour. And at the moment, there's still a 30% chance of violation due to lightning inside that storm cell. But the launch weather officer reporting that the trend is that they are seeing a little bit of dissipation in that storm. And that's an encouraging sign. The launch director has asked LWO that when enough dissipation has been seen to drop it down to the 20% mark, which would then allow tanking to begin. She's asked him to come up on her main communication channel and let her know about that. Otherwise, we'll be getting another update in 5 minutes at 1 a.m. Meanwhile, the launch team has been working and getting some work ahead, the team doing all the work that is not connected to cryoloading so that they are ahead in the countdown and ready to go. But as for cryoloading, that is on hold. You see the clock in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, currently holding at T-minus 6 hours and 40 minutes. That is a pre-planned hold and is not connected to the weather hold. Tanking will begin before that clock starts. Again, this is a 2.5-hour hold that we are in the midst of due to the timeline being extended from some lessons learned through wet dress rehearsal number 4, which was a tanking operation in which the team completely tanked the rocket. You can see now, if you look at your screen, that rain has arrived from a storm just ahead of the one that they're concerned about. And so we've got rain at the launch pad. Rain is not the problem at the moment. Lightning is. But you see that rain coming down at a pretty good clip. Again, that weather is what is holding us up at the moment. We're in a weather hold for cryotanking. Especially sensitive is the first hour of cryotanking, where any lightning in the area when they're starting to fill the tank creates a high risk to the tanking operation. Once they get going in the tanking, that risk goes down. Listening to the launch team now. But that's a great shot there of the rain cascading off the outer shell. Underneath that is the Orion spacecraft. Stand by for more updates. We'll let you know as soon as the launch director is given the most recent weather update. This is Artemis Launch Control. Got another weather update for you. The launch weather officer for the 45th Weather Squadron just updating the launch director about the current situation, the weather hold that we are in, which is a constraint towards beginning the tanking of the rocket that you see here at Launch Complex 39B at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Launch weather officer saying there are still some encouraging signs with regards to the storms offshore of us, just to the southeast of us, making their way about 15 miles per hour. LWO describing it as kind of a whack-a-mole situation at the moment. The storm system that was a concern, showing some weakening with regards to its capacity for lightning. However, a new cell popped up in the northeast area. It is inside the ring of concern, which is 5 nautical miles from the launch pad. It's barely inside it, though. No lightning at the moment, but LWO says past storm performance says that they could get some lightning out of it. So he wants to watch it for a little bit, wants to get more evaluation with the radar scans that they do on the storms. And we expect to get another update to the launch director at 10 after the hour, 1:10 a.m. Eastern Time. Until then, the launch team has been getting ready and preparing this rocket, configuring systems. They've got it all the way up to the point in which they're ready to fire up the pumps that start pushing the propellant and pre-chilling the lines, but they're holding off, waiting for a release from the weather constraint. And so we'll stand by for another update there. This is Artemis Launch Control. As you look there, you can see the rain on the launch pad coming down from the top of the rocket. The rain is not a problem. The lightning was, but now we are out of that weather hold as of 1:13 a.m. Eastern Time. So a little bit of a delay, but now we're moving forward. The launch team, had been configuring their systems that were not related to cryoloading, and they were sitting on the edge of ready. So once the go came forward and the weather constraint was lifted, the team fired up the pumps, and now we are pre-chilling the lines. Stand by. Okay, and just another brief update there. We are currently in the T-minus 6 hour and 40-minute hold. This is a pre-planned hold. We will be in this hold for another half hour or so, 45 minutes. This is a hold that was extended out when the timeline for tanking was increased, but it is not part of the weather hold that we were just released from. So the team is beginning operations to cryoload, which includes pre-chilling the lines from the tanks that run to the rocket. That's good news. Although there is rain at the pad, and that would constrain a launch, it won't stop tanking. So this weather surely to be out of the area well before then. But the launch weather officer will be keeping a close eye on all the action offshore. Again, the storm cells that were offshore in our area have had enough dissipation in their energy to remove the lightning constraint, only now 20% chance, which is within the limits to allow cryoloading to begin. And so now we'll keep you updated on all the milestones as they pass. This is Artemis Launch Control. core stage liquid oxygen transfer chill down is now in work. Core stage LO2 transfer chill down is in work. This is the pre-chilling of the lines that run from the cryosphere and the liquid oxygen tank to the rocket. And what they do is they